Hello and welcome today to Elevate Your Wellbeing Contagious Care, session 16. And today we're looking at what is your number one love language. So please give me a thumbs up or a love heart to let me know you're here. Hi Annie, and welcome. And please, Wendy, good to see you. Lovely to have you on. So let me know, first of all, whether you know what the predominant 5 love languages are. Just give me a clue as to whether this is new information to you or not. So just write new, or you might want to write what you know as your love language if you do know it already. So just going to give me an idea on how to pitch this session for you, because it's all about you guys. So let me know that you're here. Hi, Margaret. And also it would be helpful for me to know, so just put in the comments, new concept or want to learn more, either one of those responses. And the other thing is, it will also help me gauge how to pitch this as to how many children you have and what ages they are. So if you could put that in as well, it would be most helpful. We're going to get the most out of this session if you could just put, so for me, I'd say 3 kids, ages 33, 31, and 28. Okay, so give me a clue of that and I'll know how to pitch this at the best level. Hello, Renee, and hi, Annie. Glad you'd like to learn more. And Margaret, it's a new concept, and Wendy as well. Fantastic. So, when we express love to one another, we tend to automatically assume that the person that we love, that we're expressing our love to, is going to understand our language. It's an automatic assumption. But you know what? Wrong assumption. As we know, making assumptions makes an ass out of you and me. And so this is where it's really helpful to understand how we can connect better by seeing that other people speak a different language, a totally different language to us in terms of love languages. So thank you, Annie and Wendy and Alita. Helpful to know the ages. And Gina, hey, lovely to see you. And Renee, my 2 American sisters. If you can let me know whether love languages is a new concept to you or not, just write new or happy to learn more. So I want to ask you a question. Have any of you been in a different country and heard the constant babble? It seems like babble because it's a totally foreign language, that if you're in a non-English speaking country. So try and picture that experience if you've had that, and you've been surrounded by people speaking a totally different language, and all of a sudden you hear somebody speak English. What was that experience? Have you had that experience? First of all, just write yes in the comments, or and then if you have had that experience, what was that experience like for you? You know, was it, oh my gosh, you know, wow. I'm going to share with you, as you write your responses, what happened to John and I when we were in India. We had been running marriage enrichment retreats over there, and we spent a month there, and we're having a day off, and we're at the Taj Mahal. And if any of you've been to the who's been to the Taj Mahal, right? Yes, if you have. If any of you've been there, you'll know just how crowded it is. And so there was this constant babble, not just Indian speaking people, but different dialects, like hundreds of different dialects as well. And it was just like, you know, when the radio is on, but it's not on, it's out of tune, it's in between channels. So it was like that. You're not really listening to anything. But then all of a sudden, way over there was a guy that called out, "Hey, Bruce!" And I couldn't believe, like, my eyes just turned immediately, even from the gorgeous Taj Mahal, which is an amazing, amazing monument, filled with grace and grandeur. But my eyes instantly turned to wherever this voice was coming from that said, "Hey, Bruce." And it was exciting because it wasn't just in English. It wasn't just English. It was an Aussie accent. It was Bruce Ocker. And it just kind of diverted my attention immediately because he spoke my language. I tuned in immediately. I was tuned out to the thousands of people around me that felt like constant babble, but tuned in immediately to what was my language. Now, what's been the experience for you? I can hear you saying, Annie and Alita, yes, you have been in a similar experience of being in non-English speaking country, and then all of a sudden you hear an English word or phrase. What was that experience like for you? If those of you haven't been in that situation, you might have been in a similar situation where, have you ever been, just say yes to this in the comments if this is you. If you've ever been in a meeting, whatever meeting, and the topic of conversation was something that you just weren't interested in at all. And then all of a sudden, the topic changes and it becomes so relevant to you. It's what you're passionate about, and you suddenly engage and you've got a whole different level of energy. Have you experienced that? Put yes in the comments and tell me, what was that experience like for you when all of a sudden the irrelevant topic turned into a most passionate topic of yours? What did you feel inside? What was your experience? So, what happens for you in that moment is what we're going to talk about today, with tuning in to a language that our loved ones speak that we may not have ever cared or had the information to know how to tune in to the language that they actually receive love the most in. So, these feelings help you connect when you have felt loved by somebody and they have loved you in a way that you most feel loved. It automatically raises your connection level, your intimacy level, your ways of your feelings of self-worth. Anything that heightens your presence with that person will happen when somebody speaks your love language, when they express love to you in a way that you most feel loved. Because it gets to us at the very core of our heart then. So I'm going to just thank you for sharing what children you have and how many and what ages they are, because that helps me. This topic relates to everyone, and I might gauge it at predominantly children, but our loved ones in general. So if we have a partner, you can transfer this information immediately onto your partner, or you can transfer it onto your children, whether they're adults or young kids, and your grandchildren. It's a perfect opportunity to be able to express our love to our grandchildren in the ways that they most feel loved. So it's going to take a bit of time for us to be curious about how they most feel loved. Annie's written here, hearing English in a foreign language country certainly gets your attention. It sure does, Annie. So, you know, when I was about 20 years ago, when our children were quite young, I had the privilege of running many parenting courses, and I wrote a parenting course called the Inspire program, and it was for children of the ages between 2 and 12. And before I wrote this program, I thought it would be a really good idea to do a questionnaire, a survey, and I ended up doing it for over 200 teenagers, asking them this simple question: what was it that made you feel most loved by your parents when you were under the age of 12. So it was amazing to hear their responses. And it was a qualitative data, and all that means is they didn't have to tick the boxes for already what was there. That's quantitative. It was qualitative in terms of me asking an open-ended question, and they gave all their answers purely from their heart, purely from their memories. I didn't initiate anything in their brain to answer this, and that was all interviews, and it was just a wonderful experience. I'm so glad I did it, and that's how that enabled me then to write the program according to starting off the foundation from this survey. And what I found, which was so interesting, is that 29% of the participants wrote down to that question, what was it that made you feel most loved by your parents when you were under the age of 12? They answered that question in a framework that said generally when their parents gave them emotional support through difficult times. Okay, they reflected back onto that time. And then 26% of teenagers wrote that they felt most they told me, and this was in general terms around this framework, that they told me they felt most loved when their parents spent time with them and gave them focused attention. And then the next most highest percentage, 22%, was that they felt most loved when their parents said the actual words, I love you, or in some way verbally expressed that they loved them. And so it showed me that when you're going through difficult times, to have that support, that's a real love language. It also demonstrated to me that love time, quality time, was just essential, the second highest. And then the third highest was love words, words of encouragement, expressing love, words of affirmation. So that is really an incredible, that was 20 years ago, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was similar today. And you see, our hearts all beat to the beat of a different drum. We feel loved in an amazingly huge range of different ways. For example, some of the kids that didn't, when they expressed with these comments how they felt most loved when they were under the age of 12 by their parents, they expressed gorgeous things like when my parents sang to me at night, when they helped me go back to sleep after having bad dreams, when they wanted to get to know my friends. And I remember that's my mum always asked me about my friends, and it was lovely because I felt loved that way too. She really wanted to connect with them, and it was great. Other responses were when they didn't shout at me. There were some quite sad responses as well, like, I didn't really feel loved by my parents except for Christmas and Easter and birthdays. But most of them were really, random responses, like when they listened to what I had to say, when they tucked me in bed and talked to me until I fell asleep. And then and they were just the random responses. But as I said, most of them fell into some quite specific categories. And that goes to my little survey of just over 200 teenagers, validated a lot of Gary Chapman's work, which he has. Gary Chapman is a psychologist and a well-known author and marriage and family relationship therapist, who looked at what he found to be the 5 most common love languages that we use in our daily lives. And you can look at his book. Hello, Ingrid. Good to have you here. And Carol and Pam, I've just seen you. Come on in. So if you can write down in the comments section if this is a new topic to you, the languages of love, or whether you just want to learn more on this and develop further. So I'm going to outline these 5 different love languages that Gary Chapman talks about in his book. But I just want to give you an example, before I do that, of how I want you to be listening through this story. It's just a story of how two of my clients, a married couple, described this scenario when they were in my room of a recent event that had occurred for them. This was a client from many years ago. And what happened was that she one night had, I've got even the visual aids here, she had a glass of wine, she had camembert and crackers and had beautiful cheese and dip platter out there ready to have quality time with her husband when he came home. And that's how she greeted him and said, hey, let's come sit down and chat. It'll be so lovely. And you know what he did? He expressed love in a different way. He went down to he said, yeah, honey, I'll just get changed and then I'll be with you. But as he went to get changed, he noticed that the tap was dripping in the ensuite. And so he went to fix that. And then he was hammering. He said, I'll be there with you in a minute. She said, oh, come on, the cheese is melting. It's like, the coffee's cold. And she was getting really frustrated. And then he said, oh, look, I've just noticed one of the tiles is loose in the ensuite as well. I'll just hammer that in. And it was like, here he was expressing his love for his wife in a totally different way to what she was expressing her love for him. She was expressing love in just desiring to have quality time together. He was expressing love in what's called acts of service, doing things that, yes, she would appreciate, but not at that time. And so they weren't meeting. They were going like this. She was expressing love this way. He was expressing love this way. And they weren't connecting at all. And therefore, their frustration built up. And it was a disappointing evening. And that's what they expressed to me. And so the idea of understanding, really being able to speak our partner's love language or our children's love language or our close friends' love language is to be able to connect on all different levels with them. So that's the important key here. So let's look at the love languages that Gary Chapman talks about. And my husband expressed love to me last night by doing an acts of service, one of the love languages. And he wrote down the 5 in a way on this overhead projector plate so that it comes out properly on this Facebook group instead of back to front. So there you go, languages of love. And the first one I'm going to address is love words, words of encouragement and affirmation. Now, if you're tuning in and you're expressing, I'm just going through the comments here. So if you can already, if this is resonating with you, let me know so we know we're on the same page here. So with love words, we have an incredible capacity to heal with words, or we have an incredible power to amazingly be destructive with words. So words can hurt and words can heal. Healthy families generally tend to want to lift up each other with their words. Unhealthy families pull each other down with their words. Now, words of encouragement can provide our children with tremendous emotional support. And Rudolf Dreikurs, the famous psychologist years ago and author, he said on parent-child relationships that like a plant needs water, we all need encouragement. And I couldn't agree more with that. That many of us feel most loved when encouraging and supportive words are spoken to us. And remember in the survey that I talked to you about, that was third highest love words for all those teenagers that answered that survey. And all I'm saying here is it can be verbal words or written words. And written words are really powerful because it takes time to write them. And I just, recall with one of my daughters who's got the twins, she went to the trouble of writing in a card from Nana, obviously to Nana on Mother's Day. Obviously, the twins can't write anything, but they did their hand painting with their fingerprints on this gorgeous card. And Christine wrote in the words that would have been expressed to them if they could say it. And it was just so lovely because she took the time to write it. Dear Nana, thank you for loving us so well and delighting in us. Thank you for gently and kindly teaching us life lessons and helping us to grow. Thank you for laughing with us and making us giggle. Thank you for all the many sleepovers you give us, for chocolate bananas by the fire and ice cream in the bath. You make our lives so much richer. We love and adore you. Love, Macy and Oliver. And I will cherish that for so many reasons. And because the time was taken by Christine to do that on behalf of her children's love for me. So that's an expression of love words. And verbal words carry probably almost as much weight. It's just the difference between written words and verbal words is that, written words take that extra time. So it's giving your time, your love time as well. But verbal words, anything that tells your children or your loved ones how much you appreciate them. And this is such an important topic. I can see the time going really quickly here, that I'm going to put on another session on words, the power of words and the power of appreciation. So let's go to the next language of love, which is love deeds, acts of service. And these acts of service, random acts of service, like I said, what John did for me yesterday in just writing that up, the different love languages for you. He just offered to do that. Acts of service are anything, not things that are your responsibility, things that aren't your responsibility, that actually you give as a gift to your partner or your children, that you do for them to help them out. So anything at all that would not normally be your responsibility. So you might be your partner might be in a rush and you offer to help them get ready, whatever that takes. I am constantly reminded of how particularly one of our daughters, Melinda, our eldest child, she often, right through childhood, offered me a glass of water, and through her adulthood, when younger adult times when she was living with us, she would notice that I drink heaps of water, and she would just offer me a glass of water when she could see I was in a rush, or could see that I might have been a bit stressed and needed it. That was an act of love through her doing a deed that she didn't have to do. And it's those love deeds, because they help us out, they foster a spirit of cooperation and teamwork, and it tells you that you are loved by that person who will just do that randomly. I know when I used to teach at night, and I would come home with all these visual aids, big visual aids in the boot of the car, and before I'd even turned off the car engine, John would be out there helping me. He'd come out, he'd hear the car, and he'd come out and help me bring in all the stuff back into the house. And I just felt so loved by simple deeds like that. So it's serving, it's seeking to serve and giving practical support. So can you just engage with me, those of you who are here, to tell me whether any of those two languages resonate for you right now? The third gift is love gifts, okay? Love gifts. Have I got this round the right way? No. There we go. Love gifts, number 3. So, what resonates for you so far? Put it in the comments section. Anything that has brought an aha moment to you. So, love gifts aren't birthday gifts, aren't Christmas gifts. No, they're just little random gifts like this. Chocolate, yeah. John knows I love dark chocolate and peppermint, okay? And Old Gold is my number one go-to. And in COVID, although I keep it at the back of the fridge, it's there as a little treat after dinner. So that is a gift. You know, a little simple thing. It's not necessarily gifts wrapped up like this that have taken, you know, a lot of time or money. It's more I was thinking of you today when I saw this, that type of gift. The little gifts that, you know, Oliver, our grandchild, will give me when we're walking along, and he'll pick a dandelion just for me and run up and give it to me. He'll be in the middle of running all sorts of places, and then he'll come running back with this little dandelion. That is a love gift. Things that don't cost much money. Is that something that speaks to you? So tell me already whether love words, love deeds, or love gifts speaks to you. Can you think of a time when someone actually gave you a random gift? It might have been like, I love chocolate freckles, just a chocolate freckle. I can remember when I was at uni, this mate of mine, wasn't my birthday or anything, but he got he knew I loved Golden Ruffs and the coconut in chocolate, and he gave me this amazing gift of a wholesale package of, you know, a huge cardboard box of Golden Ruffs. It must have had 40 or 50 in there. And it was just so, I thought, whoa, you know, it was just so random and so delightful. Thank you, Alita. Love words means the most to you. I want to see others. Thanks, Alita, for saying love words means the most so far. Tell me what is meaningful to you, because that helps you engage with each other. So it just says that love gifts says, I was thinking of you today. I know you really like this, and I wanted to let you know I was thinking of you. So is that a love language of yours? Then the next one is love. Have I got that right? No. Love time. Can you see that up there? Love gifts. The next one is love time. Giving of your quality time. Notice I said quality, okay? It's actually focused attention, undivided attention. So it's really important that people remember, the kids, the teenagers in the survey, this was their number 2 go-to of how they felt most loved, when their parents gave them undivided attention. It might have been simple things like watching them do a handstand, or reading a book together, or it might have been listening to them as they sang a song or played a musical instrument. For partners, for your loved ones, love time can be in things like just when the two of you do something together, something special, and your partner suggests it, you feel really loved. It's that close proximity, talking with each other face to face, sitting down on the couch, no other interruptions, even turning your phones off, spending that quality time together. I know I had clients once that it was just beautiful. I could just see real progress when they told me this story about how the wife loved gardening. The husband hated it. He loved reading though. So what he would do when his wife was in the garden, he would walk around with his chair. He'd keep moving his portable chair around when she moved to do the weeding or whatever, and the pruning. And he would keep reading, but he would be in close proximity to her. Now, a lot of wives might think, no, I want my husband to help me in the garden, to actually do the work with me. But for this couple, it was like they were so connected. She didn't need his help. That was her special hobby. His special hobby was reading, and they felt so connected when they were just in close proximity to each other. I thought that was really lovely that they had worked that out together. And you know, I'm going to be focusing on this more, the connection between love words and love time. that words of affirmation come when love time is given, and it deserves another whole topic, so I'll give it next week, okay, rather than connect it all today. So love time is really precious, and Alita, that's what means so much to you. And Kayla's saying, oh yes, love time is mine. Carol's saying words of encouragement, and Margaret is saying listening and hearing me. When you feel heard, that's so true, Margaret, followed by encouraging words. And you can only have those encouraging words when you are listened to. And Alita also loved words. So you can see how vital this is. If we want to show our love to our partner, to actually know their language. So we're not going like this, like me speaking Spanish and John speaking English and us never meeting in between. So love touch is our last one. Love touch. I'll get this right one day. Love touch. Okay. Physical touch and closeness. And this is all about expressions of love ranging from an amazing variety of stuff, like reaching out and being tender, caressing our partner or our children. I know I used to caress just above the eyebrow our children as they were going to sleep when they were babies. And, you know, it just, who knows what difference that made now to their love touch, but we felt connected. They appreciated as young children, and I appreciated giving it. It can be giving hugs, kisses, rumbles, even just being physically close while engaging in that activity, as I talked about before with quality time. And it could be just being there for each other, soothing one another when we feel down, or soothing one another with a massage, soothing one another when we need emotional support. I know, and John won't mind me telling you this story because he's told it when we've been speakers to much large audiences than you guys, but mind you, there's over 150 that watch the replays. I've found out. But anyway, you're going to get this story. With physical touch, that's his number one love language. And for him, it's not, mind you, it's not, physical touch doesn't mean just sex. As I've said, it's all the different tender, gentle touching. And this story for him, when he was going to have his vasectomy, he asked me the night before if I could come with him and tickle his feet. He just wanted me to tickle his feet while he was having this operation. I thought, that is really random. I said, are you kidding? This was the last thing he said to me before we said goodnight. And rolled over to sleep. And I thought, whoa, that's a big ask. But he said, yes, it would mean so much to me because we started our babies together and I want to finish our babies together. The closure of our capacity to have babies, he wanted to finish together. And so luckily he knew the surgeon because he'd been operating with this surgeon every Monday for a long time. But he knew, this guy happened to be the mayor of Tumut, where we used to live as well. And so he was the surgeon and the mayor, and he knew this guy well enough to know that if he went in and asked, he would say no. And so John just said, look, if we just walk in as if this is the norm to do, the absolute norm, we will get in and you'll be able to come in with me to tickle my feet and soothe me. So that was his expression of love touch that he requested of me. I thought, okay. And then I thought, this would be really fascinating. I've never had an opportunity to watch an operation before. And so I did. I just tickled his feet and went away into it and just learned a lot in the process. So I hope that's not too much information on a video series, but it was so beautiful because when we went in and John, the surgeon's wife was the receptionist. And so she just said, oh, she got really emotional and said, oh, that's absolutely beautiful. Of course she can do that. And just walked us in as if it was the norm. John was right. You know, we just go in as if this is the normal thing to do as a couple. So, and Annie, I can see you're on here, and you know that surgeon who I'm speaking about, and you know he was, how he was the mayor in the days that I used to live with you in Tumut. So there you go. What a funny story, but that was his expression of love touch. I thought, if he's requested that, yes, I'll show him. I'll express love in the way that he needs it. So love touch can come in any form. So tell me what you've learnt from this session about your love languages. Annie, can you hear me giggling? Yes, I can, Annie. And we won't mention any names of who that mayor and surgeon was. A nice guy. Anyway, so that sums up the love languages. What I want to sum up now is most of you have probably discovered what your number one love language is. But I want to say some of us might be bilingual or multilingual. Write in the comments if you've got two equally strong love languages that you identify from what I've talked about. I'm going to add the love language of receiving support. Gary Chapman doesn't talk about this so much. It's not one of his 5 in the 5 love languages that he writes of in his book. But I think it's a really important one that I talked about the teenagers stating was really important to them, that we feel loved when we are given support emotionally when we're going through a difficult time. So tell me if that resonates for you, that love language, because there's many, there's more than just the 5 that Gary Chapman talks about in his book. And I want you to tell me now if you're bilingual. I'm multilingual. I have 3, actually 4, I've just realized with that. Yes, I feel one of my top ones is when I'm given emotional support going through a difficult time, when John really leans into me and tunes into me. Yes, that is one of my high ones. Words of encouragement is really high for me as well. When people affirm me, I just feel a waterfall of love over me, and it's very precious. And quality time is important too. It's not as high as, you know what, since I became a parent, acts of service has become really important. Love deeds, because of the busyness of life. So I'd have to say words of encouragement and love deeds, those serving acts of kindness are my 2 highest. So I'm multilingual, and let me hear from you right now in the comments. Are you monolingual? Is 1 the real highest and then your others are like this, graded? Or have you got 3 like me up really high, and then gift giving and physical touch? Well, physical touch would be my 4th one. And then gift giving at the end. So how do yours rate? Tell me how yours rate now, whether you're monolingual, bilingual, or multilingual. So be conscious of that. And now let's look at how we can discover our love language. And I'll go through this quickly with you. Because you see, often in marriage, we're multilingual. We speak all the 5 languages and more. You know, 10 different love languages we would speak when we're dating and when we're first married. But then as the longer we're married, we tend to just focus on what we're actually most familiar with our own language, and we ignore and limit the others. And there lies the problem with marriage. We often don't become creative like we used to be when we were first dating. So be curious about that. Look at what multiple variety of love languages you can explore that your partner receives love in. So it's also important to go out of our way to make our partner and children feel loved in their particular love language, to go out of our way even if we don't speak it at all. And I learnt this through an incredible time when I was in Japan. And we were living with a friend of mine from my exchange student days, a Japanese friend, and we stayed with her parents. And I learnt Japanese to just show gratitude before I left. It was a quick crash course, just an 8-week course. And I didn't know much, but they all laughed at me trying to speak Japanese to them. And my friend Noriko told me later, and I knew at the time because it brought her mother to tears and laughter in listening to me try to listen in on as she was listening to me trying to speak her language. And it just meant so much to her. She felt so loved, and it was my gift to her of showing gratitude for her hospitality. So we need to go out of our comfort zone and learn our loved one's language. So what is your number one language? What is your partner's number one language? Can you put in the responses here? Just jot down. Think about your partner or your most loved person, your children or child. Think about now, what is their primary love language? Jot it down in the comments section so you can concretize it and start speaking that language for them. If you're having trouble, if you haven't had an aha moment right now on what your love language is, here are 3 simple ways to quickly discover it. Ask yourself, how do you regularly express love to others? Because often this is a marker of how you wish others would express love to you. Number 2, ask yourself, what situations do you really feel hurt in? Okay, because our language of love is how we feel most loved. So if that area is rejected or neglected or belittled, you're most likely to feeling hurt very deeply in that area. For example, if our language of love is words of encouragement, then it's a no-brainer that words of bitterness or words of resentment or put-downs are going to affect us really deeply. And the third aspect, the third way to quickly find out what your love language is think of your family of origin and how love was given and expressed to you while you were a child, because often our language of love is learnt and developed through our growing years. But equally so, just as often, it can be what we lacked in our childhood. For example, words of encouragement is so high for me. That just means so much to me, like a beautiful waterfall over me, because I lacked that in my childhood. Mum just didn't know how to express words of encouragement or affirmation, and Dad was so busy. I might have mentioned in a previous session, he worked so hard, so he was a workaholic, and so he did express sometimes, but it was, I could count the beautiful times on my hand when that did happen. So it wasn't coming frequently, and so because there was a lack of it, that is what means the most to me now, receiving that in adulthood. So think about those areas of the types of ways you can quickly find out what your love language is. And the last way to find out is you might do this game with each other, with your partner or a friend. Ask, how full is your tank right now? So to your partner, for example, how full is your tank right now? And say if John came home and said, my tank is 8. And I said, I've had a really tough day. My tank is 5. And he asked me the question, how could I help to fill up your tank? So I might say, you know what? It would really help if you could put a load of washing in or cook the dinner tonight. That would identify that love deeds is my high language, because I'd straight away say that would mean the most to me. Okay, so what can you do to your loved ones, for your loved ones, that lets them know they are most loved? I'd really love to hear from you at the end of this session now as we're closing. what you've discovered. Write it in the comments section. When you're on replay, write the answers to these questions in the comments section, because it really helps each other explore in this group, and it solidifies it for you as well. So Margaret's saying, I'm multilingual like you, Heather. Kayla's saying, I've not heard support as a language. I've just made that up myself, Kayla, because I do think it's so important. I think it's very significant, as you've said. That really resonates with you as your number 2. I'm glad I said that. So we can be creative, add on to the general 5 love languages. Please feel free to add, as I have with the language of emotional support. So I'm going to finish there, but I want to say one thing. As you come in on to the Thursday session, guess what? You're not going to be seeing me. You're going to be seeing, oh, and I forgot to say, the picture is to represent quality time. Go somewhere special with your loved ones, or just have quality time in your backyard or on the couch, either way. And this top today is love language from a gift, the gift of love, by an Indian person who asked us to organize marriage enrichment in India. So there you go, creative gifts of love. And what you're not going to be seeing on Thursday at 11 o'clock is me. You're going to be seeing this delightful friend of mine, a person who's become a friend and been the significant person who has helped to promote my book, the Elevate Your Wellbeing, the number one international bestseller book. And I credit most of that to Kat Miller, who's coming on as guest speaker this Thursday in 2 days' time. And she is speaking on the 5 ways that we can become more influential as human beings. She's a business speaker and trainer. She is a coach and the founder of her business called Amplify Your Influence. You can go onto her website, Amplify Your Influence. She's speaking on the 5 ways to be the most influential we can be. And she specializes in helping people effectively package and deliver their passion, and helping people to use their gifts to make a meaningful difference in the world. A delightful woman. And so I do encourage you to join the session on Thursday at 11 o'clock. And I will see you on next Tuesday at 11. And I promise you, I will speak on the power of words and the power of appreciation. A much shorter session today, but it will follow on from today, because it's such a powerful and life-giving topic. So until next time, be brave, be life-giving, and let your light shine. Let your love shine.